All right, now to talk more about this, let's turn back to our studio guest here, Mr. Jia Xiudong. So, Mr. Jia, how would you interpret this phrase, building a global comprehensive strategic partnership? What kind of significance does it carry in terms of diplomacy between China and the UK?
Well, 10 years ago, China and the UK decided to forge a strategic partnership. And so this is the second decade after their decision to enhance their strategic relationship. And now they have decided to move the bilateral relationship to a new height. So I think that will shows the new direction and for the bilateral relations. That is, in the past, yes, we know that the two countries have built closer bilateral relations. And we also witnessed the signing of dozens of agreements between the two governments and their enterprises. And so they have closer cooperation in various fields. And now they would like to bring that relationship to a new level. That is, they'll cooperate more on global agenda. So we have heard some of the items of cooperation from the press opportunity. And for example, they will cooperate on international development. And so for example, they will help African countries with their development agenda. So because both countries are members of the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, so they can actually join hands on major international and regional issues. They mentioned, for example, their cooperation on the Iranian nuclear issue. That is a success story of the bilateral cooperation, and in the future they will cooperate more. So I believe that with that kind of global comprehensive strategic partnership, and they will join hands on issues, regional issues, global issues, for example, the climate change. And we're now preparing, all the countries are preparing for the Paris conference on climate change. So I believe that the two countries can do a lot on that. Actually, with climate change, they have a lot to do. For example, they can cooperate with their with technological cooperation, and there are other, for example, the healthcare also, which was mentioned by Prime Minister Cameron.
Mm-hmm. And together they're going to set up a fund to facilitate R&D in African countries. And Mr. Jia, let me also ask you this. We mentioned earlier that the two sides agreed to further their bilateral relationship. Of course, their relationship, the significance of their ties goes beyond bilaterals. They're going to participate in major global issues, such as you mentioned, fighting climate change. But how can the two sides better work on common grounds to work out their differences?
Well, actually, the bilateral has not, been always smooth. There have been some problems between the two countries. Actually, there was a kind of a low point, icy period of relations in 2012 because of the issue of related to the DPED and Prime Minister Cameron's meeting with the Dalai Lama. And for China, for example, the DPED issue is very important because it's a matter of national sovereignty and territorial integrity.
And the two sides also touched on cybersecurity, and that issue was being addressed when President Xi visited the U.S. last month. How can the two sides find more cooperation on that field, or at least to work out their differences?
Well, yes, it is. It used to be the cybersecurity used to be a key issue between China and the United States, and when President Xi Jinping visited the United States, the two sides finally reached agreement on that issue. And actually, that shows that major powers can cooperate with each other, even in areas of differences. And so the same thing is true between China and the UK. And because, for example, financially, both countries are financial powers. And actually they face similar threats in cyber sphere. And they can work with each other on that. And for example, the businesses in cyber areas can join hands. And between China and the United States, the enterprises actually have signed agreements with each other to forge ahead with the cooperation. And Chinese enterprises in cyberspace can also work with enterprises in the UK. So they not only have differences, maybe some differences. However, they have more shared common interests in cyberspace.
And of course, Prime Minister David Cameron mentioned that the top priority of bilateral cooperation is still on trade and investment. Now, as we mentioned earlier, £30 billion worth of deals will be struck in the next few days during President Xi's trip to the UK. Now, besides cooperation on the business front, what do you think will be the major achievement on the political front? President Xi came with an aim to deepen political trust between the two countries. Do you think that's something that he can take away?
Yes, the visit is not only about business, investment, and trade. As Prime Minister Cameron said in the press conference, and actually the China-UK relationship is more than investment and trade, but with closer business relations, the two countries can join hands in tackling global challenges. And that is actually the implication of closer China-UK relations. And certainly during the visit, the two countries will have reached agreement. Actually, they already have reached agreement about more exchanges.
The tourist visa.
Yes, also the people-to-people exchanges, tourist visa, to make it easier for travels to each other's countries, and also for exchanges in education. The UK is a favorite destination for Chinese students. And the UK is already the biggest recipient of Chinese students in Europe. And also they will cooperate on international issues. And the two leaders already mentioned a number of international issues on which the two countries have cooperated each other, and certainly will cooperate with each other in more. For example, they also mentioned the issue of women, and they can also work to promote the welfare of women.
Right. And Mr. Jia, let's also talk about this. President Xi said he's here to build on past achievements in bilateral relations. What are some of the solid achievements between China and the UK in the past that President Xi can hope to further?
Actually, politically, the two countries have very frequent high-level exchanges. And the two countries also established a strategic partnership for financial issues. And so the two countries actually cooperate with each other and have a very close consultation, not only on bilateral issues, but also on international and global challenges. And economic and in terms of trade investment, the two countries have seen a drastic increase in bilateral trade and investment. So that's very promising, actually. And
there have been a lot of first achievements. For example, the UK was the first Western country to sign on to the China proposed AIIB, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and also UK was the first Western country to issue RMB sovereign bonds outside the Chinese mainland. So how significant are these initiatives?
Yes, the UK has created so many firsts in relations with China, in relation between China and the European countries. And actually, with the UK's joining the AIIB, or Asian Investment Infrastructure Investment Bank. And that shows that the UK has its kind of strategic vision about its future, about the future of China-Europe relations, and about China's rising power. So it has a balanced view of China's rise. And some people, of course, view China's rise as kind of threat. But the UK mainly sees China's rise and development as opportunities. So it can catch up on the express trend of Chinese development. So that's why we have seen that the UK has created this force in relations with China.
And in fact, a stronger relationship will be the interest for both countries. Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Jia, for sharing your view with us on President Xi's state visit to the UK.